Hello, everybody. Today, I've prepared us this small kind of 3D Unity demo game. And the purpose of it is to really showcase or visualize a lot of the core elements that go into making a 3D Unity game. And the first one, and probably the least coding related that I want to start with, is materials. Like this material that I applied to the platforms. Your game needs to look good. It needs to look visually pleasing, and that's where materials comes in. But on to the more coding-centric stuff. We're going to start with pathing and states, right? How do NPCs know how to walk? How do projectiles know how fast to go? How does this moving platform know what it needs to do? That's kind of where pathing and states comes in to help dictate those rules behind that you want to set for other things in your game. But moving on, we also have interactivity, right? When you do things like push buttons to turn on lights, or a door triggers when you walk in front of it, or even this pressure plate that sends this platform up for us. Right? Half of a game is player agency, and interactivity is what enables that. But we also have another important aspect. This isn't mandatory for a game, but it can definitely add to it if you look into it. And that's physics, right? The player can jump, the player can move at a certain speed, and you can modify these values, even the gravity, with things such as rigid bodies and constant forces. But what goes hand in hand with physics is another important piece, which is collisions, right? How does our player not phase through walls? How does our player not phase through the floor? How does this red bar send our player all the way back to the start when we touch it? That's where collisions come in. Collisions are what dictates what happens when two certain objects in your game meet each other. Maybe it's a projectile meeting a player meeting the floor, and a hazard meeting the player, or even two non-player things meeting. But the last thing I'd like to go over, and the thing that really sets games apart from each other, is how you combine these elements, right? What makes an FPS game different from a puzzle game? What determines what kind of players will enjoy them? Well, it's not only the elements you use, but it's how you incorporate them and combine them together, right? So if I combine the physics and the interactivity, I get this cube that I can push around. But I can also push it into this pressure plate to trigger this moving platform, right? So it kind of all comes down to what you do. Not only what you use, but what you do. And that's kind of how you get a game going.